Hi Art2, Mrs. Price here. I'm going to be working on a pumpkin underpainting. There are my two little pumpkins. And I'm going to be using some burnt sienna. This is just watercolor because I don't think you guys have acrylic paint at home. If you have acrylic paint at home, you can use that. I'm using a piece of watercolor paper. I have my paper towel here and I have my cup of water. So I'm just gonna put my phone on top of the Sesame Street brownstone because I do not have a document camera, so I'm sorry about how crazy this is gonna look. All right, there we go. And that's what this is, the Sesame Street house. So what I'm going to do is kind of go take the same approach that I took with the acrylic paint when I did the underpainting. You don't have to do a pumpkin. I just really love pumpkins, and my kids and I actually grew these, so I thought it might be fun to try and paint them. So I'm going to make myself a really light wash. I'm just using a paper plate because my palettes are all super grungy looking right now. So if your palette's a little grungy and you just want to get going, a paper plate will work. So I want this really light. And I'm going to do the same thing that we did with our underpainting on our canvas. So I didn't even draw this first. I'm just going to look at it. This is just practice. And this is even a little bit dark. But Pierce, I think that when we were in class, we talked about holding your paintbrush and how you can either choke up on it and get a death grip if you have like really tiny details, but if you're doing something that's sketching with paint like this underpainting, you want to back up a little bit and then you'll get a little bit more movement in your wrist. I know the way my camera is going, it's hard for me to see all of that, and especially with pumpkins, they are really organically shaped unless you are painting one of those plastic pumpkins, which I actually also love those. But I'm just going ahead, and this is almost like my contour line drawing of what I've got here. And I'm going to layer this up, but right now I'm just trying to show some of the lines. And then if I feel like I want this a little lighter, I can always add a little more water to it. But the key to this painting is that I really do want it to dry in between. Where when we had our acrylic painting, you didn't really have to wait too long because it dried so very quickly. All right, and I will go ahead and do this one. So this, since it's a pretty thin coating of paint, I might not have to wait that long. There's something nice about watercolor that if your shapes aren't perfect, I think it still looks pretty good. So just kind of go with the flow, make some lines, try to paint what you see, and if you don't get it perfect, then that's all right. This is just like when you're sketching and you're practicing with your sketches. This is just sketching with paint, so no pressure here. The more you paint, the more you draw, the better you're going to get at it. And sometimes you're going to have stuff that looks really bad. And that's okay, because if we're not making mistakes, we can't learn. If you did everything perfectly, there wouldn't be a whole lot of learning going on there. So I know I'm certainly still learning so much. So I'm just putting down the shadows. My lighting is very strange in this kitchen, so I have all kinds of wacky shadows happening everywhere. Surprised I don't see a shadow of my phone in the paper. Right, and so what I'm going to do is let this dry. With watercolor, if I try to put another layer on here, it's just going to start bleeding and blooming, and I don't actually want that. So I'm going to let that dry, and then what I do, I'll just mix up another one. You just want it to be a little darker, and you're going to layer it up. So I know this is still wet. See, that's starting to bloom. But you would just go over the areas that are really dark. Of course, you do want to wait until that dries so you don't get that blooming. And remember, last year we learned about thirsty brush. So if you put down some color and you realize, oh, shucks, I put down too much. If you took a paper towel and tried to absorb that paint and water out, it's going to leave a white spot. So what you can do is dry off your brush the best you can, and then paint over your area, and your brush bristles will actually absorb some of that paint. And you can wash it off, blot it on your paper towel, and go ahead and take some of that out. So that's Thirsty Brush. For those of you who just have the pan of Crayola type watercolors, that is absolutely perfect for this. If you have paintbrushes at home, my personal favorite is the round brush because it holds a lot of water. It has a nice tip on it. Well, that's probably school calling us. And I think it's a great all-purpose brush. So you guys can use whatever brush you want. All right, I'll catch you later and have a great day. Bye.